2014 was flippin' awesome. I love 2014. It was a great, important year in my life for many more important things rather than just there was good movies out. It was the time where I finally got a full-time job in radio. There was a lot of stuff going on in 2014, but also it was a great year for movies. I don't care what everybody says. We might not have had a movie this year that shook people to the core, or maybe just was so groundbreaking and revolutionary that it's something we've never seen before, like we had, I don't know. But in any case, 2014 was a great year because all the movies I expected to be good were either good or better than I thought they would be. Not that we didn't have some stinkers along the way, but I'll get to those in a little bit. But right now, I want to focus on the best. The top 10 best movies of 2014, in my opinion, that I saw. There were quite a few movies this year that I didn't get to see that I really wanted to see. Like, I didn't get to see Selma yet. I didn't get to see The Intimidation Game. I didn't get to see the Whiplash. I heard a lot of great things about that, and I've been wanting to see it, but I didn't get around to seeing those. But I did see quite a bit of movies of the year, so enough stalling. Let's start my top 10 movies of 2014. First off, before we get to the top 10, some honorable mentions of the year. The Box Trolls. Super creepy, but full of heart, The Box Trolls was a very fun family film that I think a lot of people can enjoy. It's too bad that it came out this year where there was a lot of great animated movies that kind of shoved it off the list. Mockingjay, Part 1. This is a very solid flick. It is fun, the acting is great. It is just only not on the list because the pacing and the story structure feels off because it's been cut in half. It feels lacking in a lot of things because it feels like it's only half a story, which it is, which, I don't know, it could make this the second part one of the best movies of the year, but for right now, Part 1 Mockingjay is just not going to make it the list. Big Hero 6, the only thing that I would say is this movie's problem is it's very predictable. Besides that, the characters are lovable and fun, and the movie is very funny. It's got a lot of great comedic timing. It's a very fun film for any superhero fans, and it is, in my mind, at least better than Amazing Spider-Man 2, which is just going to be making it off of the list and off of my honorable mentions. It's just a good movie. However, it is better after I watched it a second time. But not making either the honorable mentions or the list. Just okay. Edge of Tomorrow. I nearly had this one on the list. Right now, consider Edge of Tomorrow a number 11 spot. I know a lot of people had it a lot higher, and you know what? It would have been on the list if I didn't download a certain movie that I'll talk about later, and a certain movie that just shoved it off the list. This movie had great action, great characters. It was really interesting to see Tom Cruise kind of play off-suit character from what he normally is. And it takes the Groundhog's Day premise, changes it, does something new with it, with, still doing a couple of the same things, but it makes it not so much a ripoff with aliens in it. It makes it its own unique thing with some themes from that movie. Alright, there you go, and now it's time for the list. Number 10, How to Train Your Dragon 2. I'm sure a lot of people are surprised that I have this one so low on the list. I've seen a lot of people put it a lot higher, but for me, there are certain things that this was one of the movies that I didn't actually get a chance to review, and I wish I did, but I kind of just ran out of time, and I was kind of subconsciously putting it off because I think what most I would have said would have been criticisms, and I would have been me complaining about the movie. Not that it's a bad movie, because obviously it's number 10 on my list, but the things that bothered me were... Okay, I watched the How to Train Your Dragon animated series. Not the best animated series in the world, but say what you will, it does actually take some of the side characters, Rough Nut, Tut Nut, Snotlout, and Fish Legs, and Astrid, and make them more interesting. It does a lot of more stuff with them. And I was really hoping to see them have a bigger role in the second one. And three out of the characters are in this love triangle. Three characters have the same character arc. Fish Legs and Snarlout are in love with Tough Nut. Tough Nut in love with this other guy who I really don't like, and I don't even know why he's in the film. And they're just sidelined. And Astrid, I loved how they made her the supportive girlfriend, that she's not have some stupid jealous thing all of a sudden, but she didn't have enough to do. But in any case, I will say why How to Train Your Dragon 2 is on this list is because A, it takes itself a lot more seriously than some family children's film does these days, and two is because it has one of the best mother characters the best mother character in any animated movie, because she's kooky and she's a little weird and she's a little she's funny and she's mesmerizing, and you can buy that's Hiccup's mother and the way she acts, and you can buy that she's a little kooky because she's just been with dragons all this time. And I loved Cate Blanchett as Hiccup's mother, loved it, and her relationship with Stoic is, so heartwarming, and this movie does handle a lot of things really well. I just think that there were some things that bugged me enough, because later in the movie, if you haven't seen it, I won't spoil it, but it has my #1 most hated movie cliche, and I don't care how well they used it, it still bugged me. So that puts it at number 10. Number 9, Interstellar. You may fire when ready. Look, I know a lot of people are going to have this movie top in their lists, and with very good reason. I have a few problems with Interstellar. But before I get into that, I just want to say that Interstellar has done some things better than any Nolan films have done before. Nolan films have mostly been more story-focused, and the characters, while good, have never been as sympathetic, with the exception of, Batman and Batman Begins. You really don't feel like you're getting into the heads of these characters as much as you could be. But it's still good enough that you really enjoy it. I think that Interstellar's characters are very thought through and very well done, especially Murphy and Matthew McConaughey's character, Coop. They both work off of each other really well, and you really feel his emotions. But you do have some characters that you really don't get to sympathize with. Anne Hathaway's character feels really superfluous, and I don't really know what her point was in the film. I know why her character was there, but I don't know why I don't know what her character brings to the table, This is a movie filled with messages and themes going on in it, and I really don't know what her theme really is, and if it's the one that is presented, it's pretty sloppy and rushed forward. But in any case, the movie is a visual splendor, okay? There's plenty of scenes that just leave you jaw-dropping wide open in the film. But it also has a lot, it's very long, it has a lot of scenes that drag, and it has it kind of wants to have its cake and eat it too. It's treating this movie with a bunch of super science, not super science, but, serious science. Stuff that, normal science fiction space movies don't deal with, like time deprivation differencing between someone moving at light speed or going to a different planet or something like that. The difference with how time would work for you and work for them. And it goes into that, it goes into the different details and stuff like that, and it treats that super seriously, but then it has moments that are just so far out there that it feels like the movie's trying to have a cake and eat it too. Be super serious and super amazing, fantastic, science fiction, fantasy at the same time. It's hard to get into it in that respect, and it's hard to... This isn't a movie that I feel like I can rewatch over and over again, but I feel like the spectacles and the characters are good enough that I think it deserves to at least be on the top 10 list. Now, do I think this is the best movie of the year? No, but will I be rooting for Christopher Nolan to get an Oscar for Best Director? You bet I will. And now it's time for One of the Worst! One of the worst movies this year was... Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles! Bear in mind that I have not seen every movie this year, but this is probably one of the most excruciating, most plot-filled movies that I've ever seen this year. This movie, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, is filled with plot holes that make absolutely no sense. Whether it's the villain leaving in the middle of a fight, leaving the good guys to escape with no backup coming at all, or whether it's the fact that the Ninja Turtles learn ninjutsu from reading it from a book, one book, mind you, or whether it's the fact that the Shredder looks like he is one of those utility knife sets stabbed into every corner of his body, or whether it's the fact that the movie doesn't make any sense because he's about to shoot this powder and poison the city off of his own building, which would make it very easy for Satellite to look down and pinpoint that his company was the problem and the evil company behind it all. And may I not forget that Megan Fox can't act. Whatever you do, if you're thinking, hey, I like Ninja Turtles, maybe I should check this out, just watch the animated series, the new one. That is way better than this movie could ever dream it could be. Number 8, Guardians of the Galaxy. Fine. Hooked on this movie. Da, da, da. I think it's real groovy. Da, da, da. I've given it to 2 people in Christmas exchanges. Okay, in all seriousness, Guardians of the Galaxy was such a blast of a film. I think people might be over-exaggerating, saying it's one of the best superhero movies ever, and, it's hard, everything it works about, there are problems with it, there are things that could have been developed more, but in the end, it is such a fun ride, filled with, it does have intelligence to it, it does have heart, it does have great characters to lead you through it, and I think that is the movie's best quality. Its characters are so great. Even, you even have characters like Drax the Destroyer, played by a wrestler, and you know what? Batista. And you know what? He's actually really funny. He has great lines. You have Thanos in there, and he's really creepy. The only thing I could say that I don't think is super awesome is Ronan the villain. But you know what? Most of our time is spent with our main characters, and they're all great. I love Chris Pratt as Star-Lord. I love Zooey Deschanel as Gamora. I love Rocket Raccoon, played by Bradley Cooper. And I love Groot. It has an all-around star-studded cast, visual effects that are absolutely incredible, a bunch of fun places, locations, and just outright quotable lines. And we need one more thing for this mission. That guy's eye. No, really, I need it. It's really important to me. Oh my gosh. The movie it blew up and everyone loves it and I love it too. I can't help it. Guardians of the Galaxy, one of the year's best. I may not think it's the best movie of the year, but if it came out last year, definitely be the best superhero movie of the year. Number 7, Boyhood. This was a movie that knocked Edge of Tomorrow off the list. This isn't a movie that I'm going to be watching a whole lot. This isn't like, I've seen Guardians of the Galaxy already twice on DVD, since it's been released. But this isn't going to be a movie that I'm going to watch a whole lot, or maybe ever again. I might not watch this movie ever again. But it needs to be on this list because we need more movies like it. This is an experience. The movie follows this boy, and the movie has been taken over 12 years to make because the boy is slowly growing up in the film, and the actor is growing up as the boy. We see him at, I think he's 8 years old, or maybe a little younger, I think 6 or something, and then, no, I think he's 7 years old. Anyway, then as the movie progresses and we see more and more of his life, he gets older. And the character, we see him go from a little boy to a teenager, and from teenager to adulthood, not to full-on adulthood, to about 19. But it is an amazing experience. It's hard to explain. It's hard to put this movie into words, how you just feel you know, you have young actors who play, and then you have the adults that play the young actor's character, and that's fine and all, but you will never ever have the same feeling when you have the characters actually growing up. You know, Ethan Hawke is in this film, and I definitely think he deserves to be nominated. He plays this dad who was a deadbeat dad, but he's trying so hard to be more into these kids' lives, and he doesn't want to be left out, and you know, he's in a interesting situation. The kids, you know, sometimes don't know what to do with him. It's really strange with his ex-wife, or I don't even know if they were married. But in any case, he plays a great role, and the characters are consistent, which is unbelievably hard to do. Can you imagine just showing up, like, you do a set for what, probably a week, and you do all this filming, and then next year you have to remember what your character was going through then, and then you have to age him a year and see, okay, what has he gone through? What is he doing now? And to have that all feel so flawless, and to have all the characters feel like the same character from the beginning of the movie as kids to the end of the movie as, you know, teenagers or just older people in general, that is an amazing accomplishment. And I will say the movie's only downside is the movie can't really end, you know, because this kid is going to have a life. And this isn't like a 3-act structure movie, and, you know, it definitely didn't need to be that. I'm just saying that it's hard to, you know, the movie is just this boy's life. Which, if it was just, you know, regular filmmaking, it probably wouldn't be that impressive. But to have the characters grow throughout the movie, and for the characters to be consistent throughout the movie, and for you to feel this character grow up, to see the mistakes he makes and the good choices in life he makes, and the same for all the other characters in the film, it's an accomplishment. I applaud it. I think we need more movies that are like, because where are you going to find a film company that says, yeah, we'll do this movie for 12 years. We'll do this movie and have it filmed for 12 years and released in 2014. Who's going to do that? All movie companies these days are just looking for the bottom line. And I think we need more movies like this. Movies that are willing to go to the more creative routes and the more out there routes in order to add new innovation into filming. And I think that earns it enough to get to the number 7. Another one of the worst movies that I saw this year was Adam Sandler's Blended. Here's the thing, guys. I saw this movie for the exact same reasons why I saw Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I had this, one of my fellow students in broadcasting college, on his radio show, he called me up and I would review a movie for him. Just quick 2-minute, 3-minute reviews about a movie that was playing in his theater. Now, his theater had only one screen, so there was only one movie per week. And they decided in that theater to play Blended. This movie is every single 90s romantic comedy ever made. The characters are nothing new. The story is nothing new. You can predict every single plot point that happens. In fact, I did predict every single plot point that happens, and it was aggravating. There were some of the kid actors could not act at all. Some of the characters in the film did things that were just so like, why? And that was stupid, and that was just demeaning to the characters. Why would you do that? You had some characters that were superfluous. There was a woman in there that her only job was to shake her breasts at the camera, and that's disrespectful and stupid. The movie may not have been the total gross, you know, movie that I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be typical Adam Sandler stupidness. It was not Adam Sandler typical stupidness. It was typical Adam Sandler boring romantic comedy. There is nothing new, nothing different, nothing creative. This is a total phoned-in movie that probably was made so Adam Sandler could have a nice vacation in Africa. While I hope you had a nice vacation, I had a horrible movie watch. Not a great trade. Number 6, Gone Girl. This movie is twisted. There is no other word that will be used to describe this movie other than twisted. This is an outright weird, twisted film. Gone Girl is one of those movies that I was expecting it to be one thing going in, but I wasn't exactly prepared for what it was going out. But what it was an outer, mind-bending, psychological, twisted movie, okay? I keep on saying twisted, but that's what this movie is. It's twisted. The characters, the scenario, the outright ending, which leaves you feeling so hollow, but in a good way. You know, this is a movie where you don't exactly, if going in, even if you've seen the trailer, you won't necessarily feel how the movie's going to end. You're not that you can't predict it, but you can't exactly feel the feeling of the movie from the first half does not match the feeling of the movie from the last act, and that is Ben Affleck is a great actor. The actress Rosamund Pike, I mean, don't get me wrong, I would love to shake her hand in a red carpet ceremony, but this character I would love to stay as far away from as possible. Gone Girl is one of those movies where, in the end, you don't even know what to think about it, and it's only till later you realize, man, that was a really good movie. How do you know? Because you're still thinking about it, and that is a mark of a good movie. Unless it's one of those movies you're still thinking about how phenomenally stupid it is, but that is not what Gone Girl is. Gone Girl is an amazing mystery movie, it's an amazing character study, and I thought Gone Girl was one of the year's best films. Number 5, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. And the Oscar for Best Visual Personality goes to Andy Serkis, if only that was a category. But to be fair, if that was a category, he'd probably win every single year. I mean, Andy Serkis, wow. I mean, this guy can play anything in visual effects land. And while I know the Oscars will probably never recognize him for a Best Actor nomination because, you know, you have to limit the amount of... You can't necessarily give an award to a CGI performance, I realize that. But, my gosh, give him something, guys, because the way he portrays Caesar and this whole ape culture, the way it's all portrayed, is outright amazing. We have humanity on the downfall, apes on the rise, but they're not, neither one of them's over each other, they're both kind of meeting in the middle. And, you know, this is, we got Caesar, we got this other guy by the human side, they're both trying to find the common ground. And, you know what, this movie really could have gone into this total prejudice, everyone's prejudiced against you, and the humans are evil, and the apes are the good guys, but you know what, the characters who do the wrong things on the good guys' side, on the human side, they're doing them for, you know what, pretty darn good reasons. In fact, if I were them, I'd probably be doing the exact same thing. And the people on the apes, you know, there's good and evil on both sides. There's paranoia, because, you know, if you saw talking apes, would you be paranoid too? I think you would. There is distrust, there is hope, there is anger, there is everything in this film. You got the characters that make it work, you got the actors that are playing it, and you got some of the best CGI possible. Don't get me wrong, I loved a lot of the CGI in a lot of movies this year, but give this movie to Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. The apes look more realistic and more lifelike than almost anything I've ever seen in a movie. And the fact that Rise of the Planet of the Apes did not win, time to rectify that mistake. What can I say? Dawn of the Planet of the Apes has everything. Hope, fear, distrust, paranoia, love, hate, and you know what? It has an ape riding in a tank. That's pretty flippin' cool. Number 4, everything is awesome. Everything is cool when you're part of the team. Everything is awesome, including Lego Movie. Yeah. This movie is probably, out of all of them, the one that I've watched the most. I've watched this, but not alone in a room, because, you know, that would be creepy. But no, because I keep on finding people that say, oh, you haven't seen the Lego Movie? Sit your butt down. We're watching the Lego Movie. I did that with Dr. J. I did that with my brother. I did that with I must have seen this movie 5 times this year. You know, and anytime somebody was watching it, I had to sit down and watch it, because everything in this movie is awesome. This is, you know, looking into it later, I might find a couple flaws, but looking on the outside, this movie is like, it's like untouchable. There is so many things about this movie that I absolutely loved to death. And the funny thing is, I wouldn't have seen it if it wasn't for you guys. Or at least the ones who have been subscribed to me long enough to... The ones who said, check out the Lego Movie. I wasn't going to see it. I wasn't going to see it. I didn't think it was going to be that good, because I thought it was going to be such a sellout of a movie. And then you had so many people... I had so many people comment in the comments, you gotta see the Lego Movie. You gotta see the Lego Movie. And I thought, you know what? Fine, I'll check it out. The trailer doesn't look that bad, so... At the very least, it'll probably be semi-entertaining. Oh my gosh, I hadn't laughed this hard in a movie since seeing Scott Pilgrim in theaters, or, oh my gosh, I don't even remember one, because the humor is so on point with every single scene, and it just makes you laugh. The timing is so good, and the way they use the Lego to craft this world, and even the effects and everything. I've seen this movie so many times, there's the little things that I now notice. Like, I noticed there's a point where a pig falls off the cliff, when he hits the ground, he turns into sausages. You know, there's little things like that that are absolutely random and hilarious. This movie has random humor perfected. You know, random humor can be a scary thing, because being random, you don't know if it's going to work or not. You know, it could work, it could not. It's random, it doesn't know. You know, if I do this, is that going to make somebody laugh? I don't know. It could not. It's random. Everything is random. And Emmett is such a likable character. This has been a breakthrough year for Chris Pratt. I mean, we have him in the Lego Movie and Guardians of the Galaxy movie, 2 of the year's biggest, most popular films, and boom, he's at the center of both of them. I mean, where did he came out of nowhere, and now he's going to be in the next Jurassic Park. What? I don't know. I did not know Chris Pratt until I saw this movie, and then I knew who he was going into Guardians of the Galaxy. But he was, I think, the breakout star of the year, and he proves that he has not exactly range. He hasn't proven range yet, because he's still playing like the likable, you know, dunderhead a little bit. But you know what? This movie, you know what? I was leery going into this movie, and it nearly lost me at a scene and brought me back on nearly the same scene. There's the scene where Wild Styles says, "You are the most interesting, the most important, the most, important person of the universe. That's you, right?" And he goes, yes, that's me. And it nearly lost me. I'm like, oh, so the rest of the movie is going to be he's pretending that he's the great hero, and them not being able to figure it out, and he just stumbles onto doing these things by accident. And then later, you know, it'll be revealed at the end, the liar revealed, and everything. It's going to be a huge thing. Not even like 2 minutes later, she realizes he's not the special. Or that he's not, you know, talented or anything. And she's mad at him for like a few seconds, and then boom, he can move along with the story. I'm like, okay, now I'm on board, because you didn't have that cliche. This movie does not follow the cliched animated movie formula that so many movies follow. And it goes and it carves its own path, and its ending is both, you know, perfect and weird at the same time. It is one of these movies that the deeper you look at it, you notice there's socially a lot going on in this film. And there's more than just the typical cash in and buy our stuff, buy our stuff. You know, this should be a lesson to Hollywood, that if you want to make just a quick cash cow, go ahead and make Food Fight. Make your crappy, no story thing just to make a quick buck. But if you want to make something that's going to last, make something like the Lego Movie, because I guarantee you this movie sold more Lego products and made Lego more popular than ever, and it wasn't just because they had a bunch of flashy images on the screen. It's because it told an actual story. As I don't know who said this. I think I heard it from Captain Logan, but I believe he heard it from somebody else, and I don't know who he said it. He said, this movie is much better than it has any right being. Meaning that it is This could have been just a typical sellout movie with no actual story, just throwing some Lego scenes in there, and the kids will buy it because kids will like anything. But no, it went the extra mile, made it a super funny, super entertaining movie with well thought out characters, fun ideas, and just an all around great film. And what can I say? Everything about this movie is awesome. I'm probably going to see it another 10 times in the year 2015. You should too. One of the other worst movies that I saw this year caused so much arguing between me and my sister is Lucy. Lucy is a movie that thinks it's so smart and thinks it's bringing up new questions and thinks it's doing something inspired and absolutely incredible when it is just boring. It is boring, forgettable. The characters are not memorable. The character, like, if Scarlett Johansson, probably one of the best actors in this film, turns into a brainless, emotionless automaton and it becomes utterly superfluous into her own story. Her character is just a mindless drone that you cannot relate to it, you cannot sympathize with it, you cannot look at it and say, wow, look at that. All you're doing throughout this movie is seeing her get more and more powerful. That is it. That is the only thing this movie does. It thinks it's saying and being artistic. Like there's an opening scene where she's walking into a building and she thinks that she might be in trouble. And so it cuts to, like, a cheetah jumping on a gazelle, and then the men pounce on her and take her upstairs and she's a drug mule and whatnot. But, it's trying to be like, ooh, we're artsy, but you don't do through the rest of the movie. The film is inconsistent in its tones. It is boring. Its action scenes are lazy. I mean, the most entertaining action sequence in the entire movie is a bunch of people just flopping over. They just collapse. That's it. And that's the most entertaining part of any of the action in this film. It is so bad. It is so boring. It is one of these films that is thinking that is so much smarter than it really is. And I don't care how many arguments I get into my sister over this movie, I will never like it, and I will always see this movie as a movie that is trying to be a lot smarter than it really is, but in the process I can see that it's just so shallow, doesn't answer any questions, doesn't ask any important questions, and is just an emotionless film. Some people say I love Lucy, I say I hate Lucy. That's basically all I can say. Number 3, X-Men Days of Future Past. This movie I was actually not really looking forward to. I was not exactly dreading it. It's not like I was like, ugh, X-Men Days of Future Past. There were some things about it that I was excited for. Bryan Singer back in the director's chair. I was glad to see, it's just, I wasn't that big of a fan of First Class, and the Wolverine, well, okay, just, it wasn't that great. So I wasn't expecting anything from this film rather than it being just okay. And after seeing it, it is, in my mind, the best X-Men film ever made. I mean, and that's me saying it, and I'm a Cyclops fan, and Cyclops isn't even in this film. It has the right amount of, it has everything right, the Sentinels were right, they made them super powerful and super threatening, and, the designs in the future may not look like regular X-Men, but regular Sentinels, but we got the classic Sentinels in the past. We got Bolivar Trask, played by Peter Dinklage, which he's made a much more sympathetic and interesting character than he has ever been in the comics, at least from my reading of him. The film has a lot of great humor, a lot of memorable scenes, and a lot of good characters. The acting is great all around. It gets rid of the characters that I didn't really like from X-Men First Class and focuses solely on the ones that I do like from X-Men First Class. It has probably the best slow-mo scene in movie history. It has probably the best stadium scene. I mean, I'm sorry, Dark Knight Rises, but this stadium scene trumps yours by a large margin. Michael Fassbender is great as Magneto. Ian McKellen is great as Magneto. We got Charles Xavier is played beautifully by both James McAvoy and Patrick Stewart. And we got Hugh Jackman playing Wolverine, once again, the role he was like born to play. The only way he could be more Wolverine if he was actually born here in Canada. I think that Days of Future Past was probably one of the biggest surprise for me. You know, I didn't think I'd like this movie more than X2 and X-Men, the first one. But it surpassed both of those films for me. It fixed every mistake in all the franchise. Well, at the very least, it corrected it so there is no more continuity errors. There is this... It's been solved, okay? We don't have any of the BS stupid thing from X-Men 3. That's gone. The X-Men Origins Wolverine is gone. It's all gone. This wiped the slate clean in the perfect way. What can I say? I loved X-Men Days of Future Past, and I cannot wait to see what they do with Apocalypse, because Cyclops is going to be back. Number 2, Nightcrawler. And it's kind of funny because I just came from an X-Men film and now I have a movie that has the same name as an X-Men character. Anyway, Nightcrawler, Jake Gyllenhaal played this character that embodies what's wrong with today's modern society and the way we view news, the way we view the world, and the way we act for ourselves. There is this mentality in the world of do whatever it takes to make you successful. Do whatever it takes to put you ahead. But this movie shows what that certain level of mindset can be, but put to the most highest extremes. Got this guy, Lewis Bloom. He wants to be a news photographer. You know, a guy who just goes around filming stuff, freelance news photographer. Anyways, he wants to be this guy, and so he starts out just filming random things, and as he gets more and more good at it, he goes to more and more extremes, and he forces the issues more and more, and becomes totally... Like, this guy was a creep beforehand, but now he has a certain level of power, and a certain level of, you know, actual control over things, and the movie, it's hard to even explain. I think Jake Gyllenhaal deserves to win Best Actor. You know, I know it's going to be hard to be playing to go against somebody who's playing Martin Luther King, but in any case, there was no other performance a year that captivated me like his performance of Lou Bloom. I believe his last name is Bloom, but as his performance as Lou, he was utterly creepy, terrifying, and yet in some ways partially inspiring, but only to the... I don't know, maybe not inspiring isn't the great word, but it's taking this mindset that we have of if it bleeds, it leads, and taking it to its most extremes. This is a movie about a character who has no sympathy and is only looking out for himself and what that would look like and how that reflects onto us. If we are the person saying, oh, look out for number one, do whatever it takes to be the best, well, what does it say about us? What does it say about how we act? Nightcrawler is just such a movie, and it ends leaving you feeling so... You're like, what? That's the way it ends? But you know what? It hits you with, that's sometimes the way life is. It's unfair. It is not... There sometimes is no justice in it. And you know what? Sometimes that's how life is. And I didn't think this movie was going to be this high on my list, but when these days when we're talking about Oscars, like, oh, what movie should be nominated for an Oscar? And I'd be like, Nightcrawler, right there. Nightcrawler should be nominated for Best Picture. Jake Gyllenhaal should be nominated for Best Actor. Nightcrawler is absolutely fantastic. I'm going to be getting it on DVD. And even if this movie doesn't win any Oscars, I'm still going to see this movie as a great reflection on today's society and how going to certain extremes will bring us down and be our downfall in the end. The Giver, I think I was a little too easy on this when I did my review. I just kind of let my feelings of the book, because it was one of the few books that I actually did read, kind of seep into my experience. The Giver is just a reflection of everyone's mind. It's trying to cash in. That's all it is. And you know what? I can see movies like The Maze Runner and Divergent this year. They weren't great. In fact, Maze Runner probably wasn't even that good at all. But at the very least, They were trying to carve their own niche in the teen novel formula because they were teen novels. The Giver was not a book about... It wasn't a teen novel about a... Okay, it wasn't about a dystopian future, but it wasn't about a teenager. The boy in the book was 12. And this feels so unnecessary just to try to make the movie like somebody else's. And when you're trying to do that, that means you're not actually focusing on what makes your movie good. You're trying to focus on what makes their movie good. And when you're trying to focus on what makes their movie good, you lose focus of your own flippin' movie, and you get some very, very bad actors in this film. I mean, the boy who plays the main character, not that great, not really. But the girl who plays his love interest, terrible. Absolutely terrible. It was so bad, so boring, so utterly... it was... You know, the only reason I think I gave this movie, I think it was a 5.5 out of 10 or something. Jeff Bridges is awesome, as always. But even Meryl Streep, the woman who is probably the best actress known to man, gives a bland performance. And I'm just like... Not even Meryl Streep can save a character this badly written. And it seems like the only reason Jeff Bridges walks away with a good performance as the Giver is, I would be guessing, is because they take most of his dialogue from the book. The one thing that I remember is the Giver being a very surreal book. It takes things and doesn't exactly make them... the world in the Giver is not our world. It's a world that used to be our world but has gone beyond that. The world in the Giver movie looks pretty much like our worlds, except we take more drugs, and it's black and white for some reason. With the Giver book, it was more surreal, and therefore the world was... I don't know. It's just... Would I say the Giver is my most hated movie of the year? No. I would say it's probably going to either Blended or Loose. A lot of my family liked it, and I didn't at all. But I think Blended is probably the worst. Well, I don't know. It's just like... Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles had some qualities that were better, but it had a lot of qualities that were worse, and let's just say it's a three-way tie between Blended, Lucy, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, because I hated all of those equally, and I don't want to talk about bad movies anymore. Let's go to the #1 movie of the year. And my favorite movie of the year is Captain America: The Winter Soldier. I don't know what it was about this film, but I kept on thinking about it. I kept on thinking about it over and over, and how great the characters were, how the story was such a great thrill ride, how the acting was great. Chris Evans was an amazing Captain America, played a truly inspirational hero without coming across as lame or, oh, that's just the way it was in the day. And you know what? He plays an awesome character with a lot of great lines. The twist in the movie was mind-blowing to me. It is the movie that I utterly loved it. I thought it was incredible. It was a movie that it took the superhero genre and didn't just make a superhero movie. It had a message about today's society and how a lot of the times people of today will hold protection and hire they will prefer protection over privacy. You know, as long as they're protected, they won't give a rat's arse about their privacy, just as long as they're protected. And that is a mindset that today we have. You know, we have a lot of, I don't care what they do over there. They do whatever they do. But as long as I'm safe, that's fine with me. And as long as they do whatever they want, that's fine with me. And that is not a healthy attitude to have these days, and this movie criticized that as that. And you got Captain America, who's kind of looked like, oh, he has his old ideals, but that's because he's from World War II, and they didn't have the same problems that we have today. And these are today's problems, and we need to handle them in today's way. But that type of mindset is not a healthy one to have. And I loved the way the movie used itself to do that, and how it was just more than just a typical action superhero movie. But don't get me wrong, the action scenes are incredible. I mean, the fist-to-fist combat is great, the tension is great, we got a lot of great shots, a lot of great scenes, a lot of memorable scenes. The elevator, you know, does anybody else want to get out? I mean, bravo. I mean, this movie fires on all cylinders, and I don't feel like any of them miss. They all hit their marks, and I think that for this type of film, it just... Okay, I'm just going to say it. I enjoy Captain America 2, The Winter Soldier, more than The Avengers. It's probably my favorite Marvel movie. I mean, I'm not going to say that 100% because I really do like Iron Man, but besides Iron Man, it is leagues above all of the others. And that is an amazing thing to do, especially since I was looking really forward to a Captain America, but I didn't think I'd like it this much. It blew me away. I loved it, and it was my favorite movie of the year. Now remember, guys, this is my favorites. I'm not necessarily saying which ones were the better made, you know, the most well-acted. These were the ones that I just loved the most. And even though I know a lot of people will say, well, I didn't think it was that great, I loved Captain America 2, The Winter Soldier, the most this year. So thanks for watching, everybody. I'm LaserDude99, and just so you guys know, this is probably the last time I'm going to be wearing this uniform. I'm going to be changing things up. I'd show you the new uniform now, but I'm gonna wait until the theme song gets in, and my room right now doesn't have any furniture, so all my stuff is in boxes. But as soon as my parents come up here with a dresser and whatnot and stuff, and I'll be able to get everything organized, I'll show you guys. So new things to come. Here's hoping 2015 is just as good as 2014. So let's see, what movies do we have coming? So what movie do we have this year? Oh, we got Avengers, we got Star Wars, we got Ant-Man. Avengers and Star Wars, that looks pretty good. Alright, see you around.
Be sure to check out more of my other videos on my channel, and wait for more coming soon.